Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast, brought to you by BuckeyeHuddle.com. I'm Marc Givler, joined here by Kevin Noon. We are mid-Southern Swing. We are probably about two-thirds of the way, I think, through Southern Swing. We just had a great trip here in Florida. We are finished with our interviews in Florida. We'll be moving on here in the next day or so to some new destinations, which we'll update you guys on as needed. But a lot of town, obviously, down here in Florida. Some really good stops. Any big takeaways from the trip?
I think it's just a matter of, I think the state is pretty spread out. I mean, it would have been really easy to get locked down in South Florida. I mean, your traditional powers are still powerful. But we did not spend a lot of time at St. Thomas Aquinas. We did not go to American Heritage for the first time in a while. Shamanad Madonna still loaded. But we were able to hit both coasts. We were able to hit South Florida as well. I mean, I think that, Florida is very open for business for Ohio State, and that's not going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, our first stop was in Jacksonville. Really good stop at Bolles School. A ton of talent there. Of course, Ohio State has two commits there, Simeon Caldwell and Corbin Fordham. Caldwell being a safety, maybe linebacker, probably safety, and Corbin Fordham, of course, being a tight end. Those guys are very locked in. That's, I guess, something that I learned here is, in the era of committing but somehow keeping your recruitment open and still taking all these visits, these two aren't playing those games. They are shut down. They are done. Neither one has taken a visit since committing. Neither one plans to take another visit other than Ohio State. And those guys are just they just feel very locked in, not just in terms of like their recruiting process, but just like mentally locked in on getting ready to be Buckeyes.
Yeah, I kind of joked about it in our Georgia recap about guys that are locked in, and I mentioned, I don't remember if it was Fordham or if it was Caldwell, but I was like, somebody like that's going to be locked in. And that was the day that we actually did those interviews. So, that ended up being true, and it's nice to have those guys. Now, that doesn't mean that you can just ignore them, that you can just robo-dial them and everything's going to be fine. You still want to keep contact there, but without having to expend a ton of resources in terms of because the time, I think, is the most valuable of all the commodities. You only have so much time to recruit along with everything else that's out there. Not having to put a ton of time into that is going to help Ohio State in terms of pursuing maybe some of the other names within the state of Florida. And you have two ambassadors here in Florida that can help Ohio State's recruiting efforts. Everybody seems to know everybody to a certain extent, whether it's from 7-on-7 or just whatever it is. I mean, it's a lot different now. It used to be 30 years ago, you sign, you enroll, and then you're excited to meet the guys for the first time. That's not how it works anymore.
No, and one guy they will be recruiting, they've got a teammate there, 2028, Asher Gitto, a big defensive end, really impressive kid, really impressive player. Obviously very early there, but came up on a visit with Corbin Fordham earlier in the spring, and they really seem like they're gonna be going after him pretty hard.
We did have an interview with him. I'm going to fall on my own sword right here, and we had a microphone issue, really a battery issue with the microphones. We will be circling back to try and get some sort of audio interview with him. Really, really good-looking player for being somebody so young. But yes, we will continue to be making visits to the Bolles School for years to come.
Of course, then we made it down to South Florida.
We were in Vero, yeah.
Well, Vero, you're right. Is that Central Florida? I don't know.
It's 60 miles north of West Palm.
Yeah. So you Floridians can tell us, is that Central Florida or South Florida? I think it's Central Florida personally, but Vero Beach, two very tremendous players. Champ Smith, 2026 offensive lineman, longtime Ohio State priority. Buckeyes get the last official visit the weekend of June 20th. I continue to feel good about that one for Ohio State.
Yeah, that one, he said all the right things. I mean, it just continues to make a ton of sense. he's a player that really seems to understand his priorities, and it doesn't seem like he's somebody who $1 more is going to get him to go somewhere else. The relationship is there now with Tyler Bowen. I just think everything is moving in the right direction there. Even if you do get the commitment in July after the visits or August, you're still going to have to hold on. It's a Florida player. Everybody's going to be really coming after him, but he does not appear to be somebody who's going to play the game all the way through. I think once he commits somewhere, it's going to be hard to move him off of it.
Yeah, and I do like where Ohio State stands going into this round of official visits. He's got a 2028 teammate, quarterback, also goes by Champ, Wonderful Mons, Champ Mons, as he is called by his friends and family, because he is a fourth generation. So they got, you can't just you can't be running around calling everyone the same thing. So he's been nicknamed Champ as well since he was a baby.
Little Champ.
Yes, Little Champ at Vero Beach, because you got Little Champ and Big Champ. So. Really impressive young man. Ohio State already offered him just coming out of his freshman year, so they've been very impressed with his arm talent and his maturity. Good size, about 6'3", over 200 pounds already. Can move a little bit. His father played Major League Baseball. His grandfather played in the NFL. All sorts of athletic genes in that family. I was really impressed just with his maturity.
Yeah, when we were talking with his coach, and there's just a lot of positivity about his game and where he is already, and he is somebody who does seem to have some wisdom beyond his years, and I think that's going to be really important in his development. And something else that we learned when the cameras were off, there's an Ohio State tie with the head coach.
Yes, head coach of Vero Beach, married to an Ohio State fan. So it never ends. It's the reach of the fan base.
I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some team functions where she'll be decked out in scarlet and gray, and already with TJ Alford at Ohio State, and then if Big Champ goes to Ohio State, it may be very difficult for Little Champ, who will then just be only Champ at that point, to get away.
Yeah, and I met an Ohio State fan or two on the sidelines at the Vero Beach spring game last year too. So it just you never get away from it, do you? Just constantly running into people who are fans of Ohio State, who are from Ohio, who went to Ohio State. Just a very interesting part of this trip for sure. Then we made it to South Florida. We'll go with Aquinas first. Justice Fitzpatrick, 4-star cornerback, younger brother of Minkah Fitzpatrick. We were really just trying to get a feel for that one. He was offered very early, but there wasn't like a crazy amount of buzz between him and Ohio State for a long time. That started to change maybe a few months ago, he said. Tim Walton's really started to pick things up over the last few months. They were able to get him to visit in the spring, and now he's got an official visit set. I still think there's probably some catch-up to do there, but that was a more positive update than I think I expected. I think Ohio State's in this.
I had a big change of opinion, too. I mean, I'm not ready to call Ohio State the team to beat by any stretch of the imagination. Talked to him last year. It just seemed like it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to follow in Minkah's footsteps and go to Alabama. Then we talked to him about schools. Alabama is absent from the list, so once that happens, it's kind of a brand new ball game. And if you were, third or fourth or fifth on the list, I mean, when you take the family connection school out of the equation, I mean, it really kind of throws things around. So, this is one that I'm going to be very interested to see kind of what his post-visit vibes are, because it's one that. He's not somebody who's new to this. He watched his big brother get recruited and go through this whole process. So he has a lot of his own wisdom here because he's witnessed it, and he has an advocate in his corner with his big brother. And I'm sure Minkah's going to sit there and tell him, look, obviously it's your decision. You got to come to it. But here are things that I saw as positives and negatives for all of these things. I mean, Minkah's obviously busy, probably not going on the visits with him, but he can still be a great counsel.
Yeah, and Justice even said, like, Minka may try and, once he narrows it down to 2 or 3 schools, Minka may try and just go to those schools by himself without Justice and, get a feel for things. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I think that one obviously is moving in a good direction. So we'll see what happens on the official. But yeah, I think, again, wasn't sure what to expect coming into that one. Went pretty well, I thought, in terms of my impressions of his impressions of Ohio State. So we will see. Shamanad Madonna, loaded. Derek Cooper, obviously 2026 running back, is the short-term key target. This one continues to be a little bit tough to get a read on. He does the right things with Ohio State. He's visited numerous times now, which is not an easy trip to make. Does have a very good relationship with Carlos Lachlan. I think as he heads into this round of official visits, and he's going to make a bunch. He's going to make more than 5. I think it was like 7 or 8 he's got. I have to give Georgia, I think, the edge. But I think Ohio State, if it's 7 or 8 visits, I think Ohio State's certainly in the top half of that. Maybe even in the top 2 or 3. I don't know. There's something about Georgia here. Their recent history with running backs, coupled with maybe what the depth chart looks like, that makes me feel like the Buckeyes are going into officials needing to really kind of leapfrog Georgia.
Exactly, and we're still in a new world of where you can take more than 5 visits. It's not new to this year, but it's still relatively new, and you wonder if there is a level of fatigue that develops with the visit. So if you're not getting one right off the bat, a lot of times we say we want to get the last one. I don't know if a player's taking 8 visits, I want to be 1 or 2, because I think at some point everything starts to sound the same, and how many different places can you go out and get a steak and and be shown around, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Certainly a feeling that the field is the overwhelming favorite in this one, but strange things happen, and it's a position where I think things are moving rapidly for Ohio State in terms of what's going to be there. Ohio State is telling players that it's going to take 2, and when you have 3, 4, 5 on the board, and granted, some of the guys that I'm thinking of are not as high on the board. You just have to pull the trigger on some of them. Ultimately, it's on the player to pull the trigger, but you have to sit there and say, all right, we're open for business. First 2 in can get in. And I think that obviously Ohio State would love to have Derek Cooper, but I think that there are others that are further down the path right now.
Yeah, I think they sit in a better position with Carson Baker out of Georgia, who we also sat down with. You can check that out on the channel. Certainly favor a key here, Central Ohio local prospect. I think those 2 are probably the 2 they sit the best with right now, followed by Cooper and Hyder. So it's going to be interesting, though. We got to see. Someone's got to blink here. Like, the first domino has to fall. One of those 4's got to commit somewhere to maybe set off a domino effect, kind of a chain reaction, if you will. And I think that's how this is going to play out. Someone's going to set off the chain reaction, and that's going to kind of impact other decisions that are made both by Ohio State and by the other players. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. So much talent there. 2028 class is loaded. There's probably 6 or 7 rising sophomores we could have interviewed.
We could still be there now. Yeah, honestly.
The amount of sophomore talent they had out there, guys are going to be starting for them this year. Just big name guys. We did talk to Peter Pierre. I will never, ever in a million years use the Jeremiah Smith comparison on a kid, but this is a big, physically imposing kid that can move. He's about 6'4". He's like 215, got good hands. He was super impressive watching him move around in practice. And then we had a great interview with him, which we'll have up on the channel very shortly as well. Just kind of, I guess, some first impressions of Peter Pierre.
Yeah, again, it's not fair to anybody to try and lump them into the same category, one of Jeremiah Smith, though it's easy when you look at the build and you look at the high school and everything else and say, well, this could be the next, tap the brakes a little bit, but really impressive kid. It's going to be a super national recruit. I think just as long as Jeremiah keeps, doing Jeremiah things that doesn't hurt Ohio State's cause, but this is Peter Pierre. This is not Peter Smith. He's he's not contractually bound under any way, shape, or form to have to follow Jeremiah. And in some ways, you may not even want to follow Jeremiah, because those are gigantic shoes to have to follow. But Ohio State is not out there necessarily recruiting receivers. It's selecting, and I think that for 28, it would love to select Peter Pierre.
Yeah, very impressive kid. Yeah, well, let's not do the Jeremiah Smith thing. Let's just say next outstanding receiver out of Shamanad Madonna. Let's put it that way. And again, very high on Ohio State early on. I think they're going to have be in that one as long as they want to be. And so that's a kid for me to keep an eye on. Tremont Isaac, another 2028 receiver, has 17 offers already. Does not have Ohio State yet. Says he wants that one. They're one of his favorite schools to watch. He's a big Jeremiah Smith fan. Different type of game than Jeremiah Smith. He's 5'11", 6 foot. He's probably more of your slot guy. He's probably more of your Brandon Innes, or to throw a former Shamanad Madonna guy out there, more of like a Josiah Trader type of receiver. But he was also super impressive at practice. Tremendous quickness and acceleration and ability to separate and make tough catches over the middle. Just a lot of good things that he showed throughout practice. And so that'll be one to watch if Ohio State offers. And it feels like, they probably will. I mean, they probably will offer a kid like that at Shamanad Madonna. But, definitely a kid that wants the offer.
Yeah, I think that in terms of the offer, it's a matter of when rather than if. I don't think that people may be concerned, well, if he already has 17 offers and Ohio State's not in it yet, I mean, is Ohio State already been passed over? No, the interest in Ohio State is already there, with him growing up as we feel old on these trips and we talk to players about who they watched, and they talk about guys who just graduated or are a year away from graduation, and it's just kind of a crazy dynamic with all of that. But, I think that there's just so much talent at Shamanad Madonna, and they'll just come out and have to hand offers out like candy at some point. And there are already a lot of them that are sitting on offers that we just couldn't get to because it was in the 90s and we got there and everybody just wanted to get off of the field, and we weren't going to sit there and tell somebody, hey, can you hang out for an hour because we got to get through these other 3-4 guys. Yeah.
Alexander Beltran, a defensive end from Shamanad Madonna, has an offer in 28. We saw a defensive back by the name of Dwayne Ray III, who was very impressive, big physical defensive back. That might be a name to watch there in 28 as well. There were a lot of names to watch at that program. And to your point of feeling old, having Champ Mons tell us he grew up watching C.J. Stroud was something else. So I could feel my hair turning even more gray when he was as those words were coming out of his mouth.
And I could feel my hair falling out.
So, great trip there to South Florida. And then we get up and we get into, again, Central Florida, but on the Gulf Coast. And we make a couple of stops there. And, the one that, really I think is going to excite Ohio State fans just because of how passionate he seemed about Ohio State was Caden Henderson, 5-star linebacker in 2017. He's basically 2017's version of Tyler Atkins, or 2027, geez.
I was going to jump in. I was going to let you finish your thought, but I was going to jump in.
Doc Brown, get me back out of the, get me out of the DeLorean and back to the future here. But 2027, 5-star linebacker Caden Henderson, and man, is he impressive! Like I said, he's kind of that class as Tyler Atkinson. He's the number 1 linebacker in the country. He's a 5-star prospect. He's fast. He's physical. He's explosive, and he's already been up to Ohio State twice, and he's going to come back in June for a 3rd visit.
I mean, and that's what's important. You want to build those relationships. Obviously, James Laurinaitis is going to be key here. We're dealing with players now. We're finally getting to the age of players now where maybe certainly they don't remember James Laurinaitis, the collegiate player, and maybe we're even kind of getting away from James Laurinaitis, the NFL player. But what they do know is that a very dynamic coach that's very hands-on, that could get out there. Looks like he could still run drills with them, and that's going to be very important. I mean, I think more conversations with Matt Patricia, even though a lot of people feel this could be kind of a one and done for Matt Patricia if things go well, and certainly, not a long-term type of situation. But, you want to sit there and show these players that the program is not taking a step back after the departure of Jim Knowles, not going to take a step back in terms of being the number one defense last year, that these are all things that are going to continue and will really necessitate players like Caden Henderson to keep the standard up.
Yeah, like Henderson's got a great relationship with Laurinaitis already. He said it's my guy, and did know a little bit about Laurinaitis' playing career. Knew he led the Rams in tackles there for a few years. So definitely highly interested there. Met with Matt Patricia on his spring visit. Came to the Purdue game previously. Did not talk to Jim Knowles. Read into that whatever you want. But Patricia sat down with him for a few minutes. They were able to have a little quick chat and get that relationship going as well. So again, get him up here in June and see what happens, how the workout goes with Laurinaitis. I'm sure they, got to see if that's a good fit. They seem to really enjoy each other's company at this point, and they get to kind of work on the player-coach relationship a little more in June when he makes it up for one of the camp days. So that's definitely a guy to watch. That's going to be a top target in 2027 for sure. So that's a guy you're going to want to remember that name. Then we also go to Clearwater High School. And this one's interesting. 2026 offensive tackle Sam Roseboro. This one has moved very quickly. Last few months, type of quickly. Had really no contact with Ohio State until Tyler Bowen arrived, and Tyler Bowen called down there the first day he took the Ohio State job to call about Sam Roseboro. And Roseboro also has a relationship with Marcus Johnson, who is a new assistant O-line coach who was at Purdue and offered Roseboro early in the process. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics that while Ohio State's playing catch-up on some other programs, there's a lot of interesting dynamics here that have allowed them to catch up pretty quickly.
Right, and he releases a list with no official visit to Ohio State, and then he amends it to add Ohio State. So Ohio State has a lot of momentum. At least there's a lot of curiosity to see what Ohio State's about, and then you have to just go and do your best to make it happen. And I think that Ohio State has already done a good enough job to pique his interest, but what will carry on from there? And Sam was very good at not really tipping his hand that much. Just because he's new to the Ohio State recruitment doesn't mean he's new to recruiting. So he wasn't going to offer up much either on or off camera, but I think that this is one that people do need to keep an eye on. I'm not predicting any sort of success because again, this is one you don't know. There are times where we have a pretty good feeling that Ohio State's going to get somebody. I can say, can't speak for Marc, I can say, as of the time we are recording this, I have no earthly idea where Sam is going to go, but Tyler Bowen is putting in work. Yeah,
that was a tough read, and Sam's kind of a man of few words. It was a good interview. He did well with it, but he's not going to go out of his way to give you anything extra on certain things. So he's keeping a little bit close to the vest. I think Ohio State's got a chance. Whether that's a puncher's chance or a great chance, I think to be determined. But again, working this quickly, getting him up on the official late in the spring, or on the unofficial late in the spring, and then having him basically rearrange his official visit schedule to accommodate Ohio State is an awfully good sign that things are progressing in a good direction. So we'll see where that one goes. But again, he'll be up for the official in June. And I think, again, that round of officials will tell the tale. There's another kid who's going to decide in the summer, probably in July. So keep an eye on that one as well. As with Bowen, it's interesting. You want, as a fan, you'd want them to have a couple more guys in the class within a month or two, but there's in such a different space right now. I think in O-line recruiting, there's 6 or 7 guys they've got a shot at, and they don't need to get all 6 or 7 of them. They just need to get 2 or 3 of them. Whereas last year, in the last couple of years, it just felt like, if they don't get David Sanders, or if they've got these 2 guys, if they don't get either of those or both of those, this class can be kind of uncertain. This isn't like that. This is they are legitimately on 6 or 7 guys with, again, if you get 2 of these guys that we've talked about on Southern Swing and some of the other guys that we know are out there, that is a tremendous offensive line class.
The recruitment of Felix Ojo is not going to make or break this class. Now, obviously, you want Ohio State. If you're watching this, you're more than likely an Ohio State fan. You want Ohio State to land Felix, but there's not one linchpin that is going to determine if the class was successful or unsuccessful. The net seems to be cast a little bit wider. Now, is it that 26 has more high 4-star type of linemen that you can kind of get away with, or is it a matter of that you're looking and it's like, these are all guys that would absolutely fit and work in the system, and we can coach them up and develop them up? I think time's going to tell a little bit on that one, but it certainly feels like a different approach. It certainly shows a coach that has really strong recruiting chops, and I really like Justin Fry. It's not a negative statement toward him, but his recruiting was not as dynamic as Tyler Bowen. So, I guess we'll kind of see here at the end, and Ohio State certainly could take a really big class because, they've not necessarily hit their number in recent years.
Yeah, and again, this isn't like giving Bowen all these props and putting down Justin Fry. Bowen's got some stuff to live up to in terms of the development component because Justin Fry was very good in the development component, and we just don't know yet on Tyler Bowen. We'll find out a lot more this fall and into next season. But so just a different, again, like you said, a different approach, different way of doing things, and we'll see which way ends up better. But it does feel like Ohio State's putting themselves into the mix with more big-time linemen than they have in recent years. So very good news there for the Buckeyes. We will, again, this is wrapping up our Florida part of the Southern Swing. We will have more content. We're still on the road. We're not coming home just yet. We got some more stops to make. We'll keep you guys updated best we can on that. But hope everyone's enjoying the recaps, enjoying the interviews on the YouTube channel, and going to BuckeyeHuddle.com with Jeremy Birmingham over there now, and myself covering recruiting, Kevin Tom Tony on the team. We got Ross Fulton, Michael Pettit, Justin Whitlatch, Devin Ratcliffe breaking down X's and O's. Lots and lots of stuff to love about the BuckeyeHuddle.com staff right now. So I think everyone should give us a shot over there if you're not over there already. But again, appreciate everyone's support on here for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.